This episode of the Esoteric Order of Roleplayers is brought to you by the generosity of our backers on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/esotericrp to find out how you can become a backer too. We create and broadcast these episodes live on native lands. We acknowledge these are unceded lands, with diverse communities maintaining connections to these places, and recognize their ancestors, their elders both past and present, and future generations. Learn more by visiting the Native American Rights Fund website at narf.org. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of me, David Larkins, and I'm going where I've never gone before.
Flight Control Officer's Log, Stardate 29994.5. Our ship is currently hurtling through some sort of wormhole or subspace dimension, having evaded a hostile unknown alien species that was determined to assimilate us, ship crew and all. Where this wormhole leads is anyone's guess, but it is having strange effects on our sense of time and space. All right, and with that, we are back for our third Star Trek Captain's Log mission. Welcome back, crew. And this one is, largely picking up. It's sort of a sequel. It's not exactly a part 2, but definitely a sequel to the preceding mission. A funny thing happened on the way to Omega 10. This one I have chosen to call Visions of Futures Past. How's that for a Star Trek episode title? Because this is our trippiest mission yet. I swear, the next mission is going to be grounded, literally. This one, I kind of feel like we've sort of created a unintentional trilogy here, much like Star Trek 2, 3, and 4, the movies. I kind of feel like we're sort of playing around with some very similar themes here, which, considering that one of Wyn's experiences in the Academy was encountering beings of pure emotion, I believe, was what I settled on. I guess if this were a TV series, people would say, oh, that's the very philosophical, meditative one. It's very spiritually elevated. I hope they would say that. And indeed, for this mission, I rolled that it would be a spiritual mission. And just as a quick recap, we got research and transform unknown life form, complication of unexpected attack, and we got a city ship on direct path towards Earth. And the whole crew is due to have a shared vision. So I have given this all some thought. Unlike the other two missions, I feel like all of this kind of fits together much more naturally. And it was really just a question of, order of operations, I guess you could say. So I figured it would be fun to just jump right in with some starship combat, because we haven't done that yet. I was talking about that last episode, and I just think it would be fun. So just as a quick recap, Kyushu is currently hurtling through a transwarp corridor, which is something that the Federation has not yet encountered, and if we recall, that kind of requires special shielding and special equipment to avoid having the wonky space-time effects of a transwarp corridor really mess with you. And I think on Kyushu's initial trip through the corridor out to the Omicron system, I sort of evoked, some fancy visual effects of, the crew sort of moving slowly through time, and colors shifting weirdly, and everyone moving in slow motion and so forth. So that is certainly happening on the flight back. I don't think there's any question of that. And so we're just going to kick off with a little bit of an action scene here as the Borg sphere that was pursuing Kyushu also popped into the transwarp corridor and is now going to be engaging in combat inside of this strange Bill and Ted style time travel tunnel. We will not be doing any actual time travel, not just yet, but I do have some thoughts about this, city ship on direct path toward Earth. Definitely some thoughts indeed. But step one is we gotta do some spaceship, starship combat. So, reviewing the rules, I am instructed to determine if one of the ships has an upper hand on the other one. Now, considering the state that Kyushu is in at the moment, and its crew specifically, I am going to say that it is highly probable that the Borg sphere is going to get the drop on Kyushu, because mostly everyone's just focusing on, literally not coming apart at the seams. So the ship, the sphere rather, is going to get the drop on Kyushu. And let's see, what did it say? I believe it said, let's see here. Can help determine if that hit caused damage to the ship. Yeah, so the damage is just automatic. Okay, so as I discussed last time, ships have scales. These are just numeric ratings. Kyushu has a scale of 4. The sphere has a scale of 8. With every hit, I then determine exactly what kind of damage, what system is hit, basically, and then see if that's critical damage. And then, basically, once a ship accrues three points of critical damage, it is considered defeated in combat. So, okay. So let's see here. What do we got? Hits against your starship. All right. Consult the system's hit matrix on page 308. Done. All right. Here we go. All right. An 18. Oh, lovely. Weapons. Weapon system got hit. Okay. And let's see here. If your hits are fewer than your starship's scale, consult the Generating Ship Damage Probability Matrix, page 309. The affected system may have received critical damage. If your ship has received several hits greater than or equal to its scale, the affected system receives critical damage as a certainty. Okay. So, alright. Check for critical damage. Okay. At hits equals scale, critical damage always results. Each hit randomly targets a system, may randomly inflict critical damage to it. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, minor to catastrophic ship damage. Alright, so we just had a... they changed the name of the probability matrix there. So it's not the Generating Ship Damage Probability Matrix, note for folks playing along at home. It's the minor to catastrophic ship damage matrix. Fine. All right. 16. Why am I rolling hot when I really don't need to be rolling hot? That is catastrophic. Critical system destruction, life support failure, ruined hull, repair necessitating space dock. All right. And then we're going to roll on the critical damage table. Okay. Exposure to space. The damage has exposed sections of the ship's inner hull to space. As the crew works to seal the breaches, all tasks take twice as long to accomplish. All tasks take twice as long to accomplish. Not sure exactly what that means. But looking at the other possibilities on that table, I think we got off relatively well. So, but nevertheless, critical system destruction. Does that mean my weapons are just knocked out entirely? That would seem to... Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I rolled catastrophic, not critical. Silly me. The catastrophic damage matrix was on the next page. Critical system destruction. The ship has sustained enough damage that the key system is permanently offline until repaired. Roll 1d20 to determine the system. That's weird. Okay. 6. Engines. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining me on Captain's Log. Tune in next week to find out what the hell else I'll be playing. Holy crap. I'm 11 minutes into this fucking mission. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. All right. So let's review this really quick. I mean, it's pretty obvious what happened, but I just want to let's just go through this. Okay. When you fail a task, your starship receives 1 hit. Consult the system's hit matrix to learn which system has been impacted. I rolled weapons. If your hits are fewer than your starship's scale, consult the generating ship damage probability matrix, which is not actually called that. The affected system may have received critical damage. If your ship has received... Right, blah, blah, blah. Once a system has received critical damage, a section of the ship is unable to function. Crew members need to flee that area. Emergency repairs are required. The section may even need to be sealed off. You cannot attempt any actions that involves use of that system until repairs are completed. When 3 systems are critically damaged, the vessel can no longer engage in combat. The fight immediately ends, but this does not mean the game is over. Perhaps enemy forces have knocked out your shields and weapons. Are they now beaming their soldiers over to your vessel to fight hand-to-hand with the crew? Resolving combat. At the end of combat, if you have been successful, fill the current delta of the mission tracker, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay, so we just got walloped by the sphere. So everyone's like, shifting out of phase. Voices are weirdly distorted. People are barely hanging on to their lunches, and then suddenly everything shakes. The lights flicker. Huge showers of sparks rain down from the ceiling and from various, computer banks. Some dude gets launched by a hydraulic ramp, carefully concealed behind the bridge. And everyone else is flying all over the place. Okay, so there are additional actions. The following actions can be attempted during combat instead of attacking. Okay. So obviously we need to do emergency repairs. Wyn is screaming, "Captain, the engines are offline." And Ensign Kehoe, "Captain, we have no phasers, we have no photon torpedoes, our weapons targeting system has been knocked offline. So obviously engines are more important. So we're going to roll structure plus engineering to try to get that back online. Obviously, if we fail, we'll take more damage. So structure plus engineering, that's a 13. All right, thank God. So not only did I succeed, but generated some momentum there. So I'm going to spend that momentum and generate an advantage. And I'm just going to say that not only does that remove the critical damage on the weapons, but it gets the engines up and running again right away. Okay, all right, that wasn't so bad. Felt kind of easy actually, but all right. Okay, so now we can actually try and do something. So of course, Captain Galvin says, "Let him have it," and so we're gonna return fire, pew pew pew, etc. So let's see here. Weapons plus security is our magic number. Of course, the Kyushu, not great in the weapons department. We need a 9 or less. And yeah, that's just a fail. That's a fail. All right, no threat generated, thankfully. All right, now I have to once again consult the system's hit matrix, discover if we generate critical damage or not. So the system hit matrix tells me that this time our structure... Okay, so remember, I don't think the... we got the engines back online, weapon system back online. We still have a giant freaking hole in the side of in the side of this ship. So yeah, let's not forget that. But okay, structure, fine, and then yeah. See, use these probability matrices to determine what kind of damage your ship takes after sustaining a hit. The system's hit matrix is a quick way to determine which system is adversely affected by damage. The minor to catastrophic ship damage probability matrix allows for more detailed prompts to explain ship damage. Oh, so it was one or the other. That's really unclear. Also, how the hell do I... okay, so it's just interesting because if I'm using the system hit matrix, there's no way to determine if it's critical or not. But if I'm using the minor to catastrophic ship damage, then obviously, yeah, that's kind of how we would do that. I feel like we might have lost a table somewhere along the line. The generating ship damage probability matrix, which is supposed to be on page 309 and is not. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, well, I did actually rather enjoy rolling on the minor to catastrophic ship damage table, so we're going to do that instead. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so what did I roll there? I rolled something that was structure, which is 10 to 17. Sadly, there's not an equivalent. There's an 11 to 15. Boy, it is really easy to get critical or catastrophic damage. That's not cool. All right, I rolled critical damage again. So then we're going to roll on the critical damage table. Major repair. The ship has suffered serious damage that affects multiple key systems. Until the ship is repaired, it rolls 1 fewer d20 on all tests. Jesus. All right, so that's another critical. And we're down to 1d20. Whew. Okay. Yeah. We're going to keep going here. We're going to keep going. We're going to... we're down to rolling 1d20. All right, so we're going to try repairs again. And that was emergency repairs, structure plus engineering. Okay, 13 or less. Single die. A 7. Okay. Whew. All right. So that will remove critical damage. Okay. So the way I'm interpreting this is that it removes the critical damage portion. Now, once I get to 4, structure 4, critical damage is automatic, and I get the impression I can't remove that. Although maybe I can. I don't know. Anyway. All right. So that was, that was the thing. All right. Okay. So we're not doing so hot. So I'm going to try and disengage, and that is engines plus con. This will make this combat an automatic failure, even if we get away. I think it's pretty obvious we're failing regardless. I do like this. It is thematic in the sense that this Borg ship is absolutely kicking our ass. I think that makes sense, and that is a fail. Okay, so now, needless to say, there's a lot of page flipping here. The Starship Combat section is on page 215, and I'm having to flip back and forth to page 309. Just saying. All right. Moderate damage. Oh, thank God. And this is subspace field disabled. The ship is currently unable to maintain a stable warp bubble. The ship is unable to go to warp, though its impulse drive is not affected. Okay, well, we don't have to worry about that just yet, but I will make a note of that. Subspace field disabled. Okay. All right, we are 1 away from starting to take critical damage automatically. Still trying to disengage, engines plus con, and that is another fail. Critical damage is sustained. And what system specifically? I'm going back to the system hit matrix now, just since it's automatically critical damage, and so that was structure. All right, makes sense. We're just getting torn up here. All right, still trying to disengage. That's another fail, another critical hit. This time to structure again. Okay, fair enough. All right, all I need to do is just succeed on this roll, and I get away. That's all I need to do. Engines plus con. It's not a bad rating, 13 or less. Yeah, no, that's a 16. All right, so, and that is weapons this time. All right, so, yeah. So just to review, when 3 systems are critically damaged, the vessel can no longer engage in combat. The fight immediately ends. This does not mean the game is over. Perhaps the enemy forces have knocked out your shields and weapons. Are they now beaming their soldiers over to your vessel to fight hand-to-hand with the crew? Okay. We are at a crossroads, people. I have a couple options here. Option A, end the campaign. I said last time, there is no guarantee of success here. I even put doomed down as the Kyushu's trait, One way or another, this ship was going to fall victim to the Borg. In this timeline, in this reality, perhaps the Kyushu disappears while on a deep space navigation mission and is never heard from again. And then, when the Enterprise D encounters the Borg cube 8 years from now, or whatever it is, they have a much tougher time of it because the Borg have assimilated all this Federation technology. Maybe it spells the end of the Enterprise D. It's quite possible. Maybe this is a much grimmer timeline. So that's a possibility. And we have the doomed trait there on that ship. So, I mean, that is, I'm weighing that one. I am weighing that one. Second possibility. The mission note, the mission type, or not mission type, but, the sort of more specific mission was, spiritual, entire crew has shared vision. So, we could do the it was all a dream situation, but still pivot off that doomed trait in that as Kyushu is coming out of the transwarp corridor, we suddenly, and everything, space-time restores itself. We suddenly realize there was no Borg sphere. It wasn't pursuing us. Yes, it did exist. We did encounter it, but it didn't manage to follow us into the transwarp corridor. There was no actual starship combat that occurred in the transwarp corridor. Rather, because the Kyushu is not properly shielded against the space-time distortions and disruptions that occur while in a transwarp corridor, what the ship was actually experiencing was a shared vision of its own doomed future, of being blasted to smithereens by the Borg at the Battle of Wolf 359. Boom, we did it, everyone. Okay. I talked myself out of ending the campaign. Lord, that was brutal. That was absolutely brutal. Whew. All right, so Kyushu pops out of the stable transwarp wormhole located somewhere within the barren stretch of space known as the Hollow. And the crew, everybody drenched in sweat, looks around. Normal space-time has been restored. We've got the comforting hum of the bridge, in the background, but you could hear a pin drop as everyone sort of blinks a few times, maybe pats themselves down. Captain Galvin swallows hard, and he says, Lieutenant Cedino, where are we? And Wyn punches up some navigational coordinates. So, first thing we have to do is mark that first scene down as a fail. And how? Wow, good grief. I mean, I was close to despair there for a minute, folks. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I really thought that was it. I really did. So, yeah. All right, Wyn, locate us in space and time. Of course she does. And we even generate a momentum off of that one. So, Wyn very quickly determines that, well, Captain, we seem to be right back where we started before we were pulled into that strange dimensional anomaly. And the captain, who's still pretty pissed off at Wyn for her, foolish bravado, just nods and says, set a course for the nearest starbase. And so Kyushu heads off into back towards Federation space. And we're gonna call that part of the first scene, because that's not really a scene. Yeah. Gosh. Okay, so let's review. Let's go back and review here. So we got that shared vision. We got the unexpected attack. Okay. All right, so let's go to the probability matrix here, because I have some ideas of how this city ship on direct path toward Earth is going to enter into the story. So remember, our theme and whatever the hell, the thing I don't like in terms of their terminologies here. Let's see here. Our incident and theme, we had a double incident, so we got research and transform, and then the theme was unknown life form, and then and then I rolled a city ship on direct path towards Earth for complication, I believe, or something. Oh, it was the encounter. That's right, it's the encounter that I rolled. So, obviously that's the city ship is the unknown life form. I'm thinking some kind of generation ship. I did a little bit of background reading before starting, although not as much as I have in the past, in terms of like the history of generation ships in the Star Trek setting. They turned up a couple times in TOS, but they're always like alien generation ships, They are Visions of Future Past. I just realized, the mission title has taken on additional layers. But the reason I originally chose that title is that I kind of thought, what if this is like a generation ship, but it's kind of like a ghost town, It's a city ship, so what if it's like all the people who are on board are dead now? I'm just trying to think of like how to make that into a longer story. Or, of course, we could go with the classic setup, which is, you have people on this generation ship who are of such a generation removed from the originals that they don't even realize they're on a ship. I believe that was one of the TOS episodes, but I don't mind cribbing. But this is a job for the probability matrix once we get there, I think. I can roll some other things as well in terms of like alien life forms that might be on this thing and get some ideas. As for why it's heading towards Earth, that was kind of the original thought, was like maybe like a Planet of the Apes kind of situation where this ship actually originally left Earth and is now coming back, either because it was programmed to do so, or just some kind of weird, migratory impulse to return from whence you came. Again, if there's people still alive on the ship, they might not even understand where they came from, what Earth is, but there's some kind of weird impulse to, steer the ship back towards Earth. Seems a little essentialist, but, we could play around with it, see where that goes. Or if it is an alien craft, if it's some kind of, city ship from some alien culture, we can kind of figure out, okay, why are they going to Earth? Now, the sort of obvious one is, well, they were sent to find a habitable planet that they could colonize and take over. That would be sort of the sort of hostile alien approach. Or, we could have them be refugees. Although, knowing the Federation, I don't think that would really be a problem. So that it would have to be complicated in some way, i.e., there would be something preventing Earthlings from taking on the residents of this city ship. Maybe the city ship itself is inimical to life on Earth. It's, highly radioactive, or I don't know. So anyway, I'm just kind of thinking out loud before we get there. And however, I think the first thing to do is determine when Kyushu gets the call. Because here's the thing. If you recall, Kyushu is a primarily intended, as we saw in that starship combat, Kyushu is intended as an exploratory kind of like patrol vessel that's more intended to conduct system scans and mapping and planetary, scans or updates. It's not a warship, it's not a ship of the line, but it would be dispatched to go check things out and sort of, report back, essentially. And, that was kind of where we started this whole campaign in that first mission, So I'm thinking the kind of obvious situation here is to send Kyushu. Kyushu gets a call from the local admiral or commodore or whoever, who has received word from these monitoring stations on the edge of Federation space, since Kyushu's in that area anyway, of this rather mysterious massive object that's seemingly on a course towards humanity's solar system. So and won't you please head out in that direction and find out what's going on. So my main question here for this scene is, does Kyushu get that call before it reaches the nearest starbase or after? So I believe Deep Space 4 was our nearest starbase. So doesn't really matter to me, so I'm going to say 50-50. 10 or less, they get the call before they get to Deep Space 4. And that's a 12. Okay, so they do get to Deep Space 4. And so probably actually the meeting happens in person. We'll say there's a Commodore aboard the starbase who meets with Captain Galvin and assigns him this mission. Fly out to these coordinates. Last reported sighting of this strange vessel, and then set a course to intercept or catch up with it. Do some long-range scans. Do not engage. Just determine what it is exactly this thing is, and then send your reports back. Back to Deep Space 4 for further analysis. So meanwhile, what else is going on Deep Space 4 while the Commodore and the Captain are working out details of this mission? I think this is a fantastic opportunity to get in some of these role-playing beats that I've been wanting to explore for the last few sessions. So, with the caveat that I have never watched Deep Space Nine, and I don't have any actual idea of what life is like aboard one of these deep space stations, what the interiors look like, or any of that kind of stuff. We're just going to be flying blind. I'm just going to be crashing ahead here. Your Star Trek will vary. Also, I'm sure that these deep space stations are built to some level of a common plan, but I'm sure they're all unique in their own ways as well, much like how starships, can vary in minor and significant ways. So yeah, I'm just going to riff. I'm just going to ramble. And we'll just kind of see what's up. So one of the fun things we've got on here is we've got some downtime matrices in the book. So I'm going to just kind of roll on a couple of these, I think, just to get some ideas of things I could throw in. Okay. And alright. And that one not so much. Let's see. Okay, so we've got that. We've got that, and then we've got that. Okay. I just need to look something up briefly, so I'm going to pause the recording now. Okay, so I think scene 2. I mean, you know, we might have a little teaser shot of Captain Galvin and the Commodore walking down one of the corridors of the station on the way to the Commodore's office, deep in discussion, but then, you know, the camera sort of peels off from them and tracks through into a sort of bar and lounge area. And you know, of course, this being a space station, this is a bit more a bit more generously appointed, I guess, than even the 10 forward on Enterprise. I mean, I don't have a similarly punny name for it, you know, but let's call it I don't know. Something's coming up, you know, like maybe it's like kind of a saloon type name, you know, like something to evoke an Old West saloon. Maybe like okay, so Des and I watched this crazy movie called Johnny Guitar not too long ago. If you like almost like, I would say, proto-psychedelic westerns from the 50s, definitely recommend it. Let's see here. Trying to remember, the movie centers around a saloon. It might just be called Vienna's, because that's the name of Joan Crawford's character who runs the place. Let's see here. Yeah, it's called Vienna's. All right. So, as a little ode to Johnny Guitar, the bar and lounge on Deep Space 4 is called Vienna's, and it you know, there's really not a lot beyond that to, you know, it's not like themed. You know, it's got all the sort of modern appurtenances, you know, but nevertheless, somebody was clever, or it's just a huge coincidence, and we just arrived there from, you know, train of thought, thinking out loud kind of creativity. So we don't know yet, but as we enter Vienna's, we can see many of the crew of Kyushu are, you know, in various places of repose around the very comfortable, sleek, you know, sort of pleasantly dimly lit interior of the lounge. You know, there's of course folks up at the bar, which has the sort of light box effect, you know, with the translucent underlit bar top that, you know, kind of dramatically lights everyone up. And there's folks in booths, there's folks at tables, and we've got Wyn engaged in a game of stratagema. So I had to look that one up. That one was a new one to me, although it is TNG era, appropriately enough. So that's cool. So who is Wyn playing against? Let's see. I have some ideas, but I want to just kind of see. Let's see who we're going to start out with. Okay, let's go down the line first of all. Okay, is Kerensky there? Let's use the probability matrix. Okay. I just saw a matrix for where are you injured, and I misread that as were you injured, and then that just made me think of, but did you die? Okay, so which could be the motto for Starfleet, really. Okay, is Kerensky there? I will say somewhat probable. It's possible that Galvin wanted her present for these high-level mission briefings. So 12 or less, Kerensky is there, and we roll 12. Okay, Kerensky's there. All right, how about our chief engineer, Tatha Thorella, our Andorian? 50-50 on that one. But yes, Thorella is there. Now, good old Lieutenant Commander Jammer, recovered no doubt from his encounter with the psionic beings. But I'll say it's somewhat improbable that he's there. Oh, but he is. Wow, everyone's showing up. Krisar, Chief of Security, Cation. 50-50 on that one, and yes. And Lieutenant Commander Timir, our Vulcan Chief Science Officer. Improbable. And no. Okay. And lastly, our Lieutenant, the dreamy Harrison Frakes. I want Frakes to be there, so I'm just going to say highly probable. And yes. Alright, so the only one we're really missing from the core crew, apart from the captain, is Lieutenant Commander Timir. So be it. Alright, so who is Wyn playing Stratagema with? Now, Kerensky is kind of a mentor. Stratagema, as the name implies, is kind of a game of strategy and planning. So it might be the sort of game that Kerensky wants to, use to teach Wyn strategic thinking. So we'll say it is probable that those two are playing. Yes. Okay. So Wyn is playing a game of Stratagema against Kerensky. Now, I want to do some scenes here in Vienna's on Deep Space 4, possibly elsewhere if the if the mood takes us. But this is kind of a realm of this format where I feel like it's at its most challenging, because I feel a little odd about just like sitting here and kind of like making up an extended dialogue scene, obviously. So one thing I've decided this week is that I'm going to go ahead and make an Obsidian Portal wiki. Longtime listeners to the podcast will know I like to use Obsidian Portal to create campaign wikis. It's a nice little organizational tool. It's got a characters section and adventure recaps and general wiki maps, all that. So I am going to make an Obsidian Portal. It's more for posterity. Once I make it, I'll go back and I'll put the link into the older episodes and continue to link it throughout the remainder of these episodes. It's a way to kind of just catalog the characters on the ship itself, Wyn as a character, what her values are, how they've changed over time. I'll write brief little synopses for for each episode. Probably just type up the the opening and closing logs and the supplemental logs, and maybe just add some additional notes, put in a link to the episode proper, very kind of like low effort, frankly, but yeah, not super demanding, which is fine. This is not a super demanding game as far as the mechanics go. Like I can have the Kyushu on there and have it just be a very simple write-up, because that's really what it is. It's very simple, very easy, to write these characters up, even the more detailed ones like Wyn or the ship. Now, having said that, what I might do is, for scenes like this, I might indulge a bit in some fiction, and just write up some dialogue and include it on the wiki based on, what I come up with here. So, in other words, I'm going to kind of sketch out how I'm viewing these scenes. And if I feel like they would benefit from some more in-depth dialogue, particularly, I'm kind of sensing that there might be some interesting places that these conversations could go that I might not feel entirely comfortable just extemporaneously, narrating even. That they would require a bit more thought and a bit more sort of careful wording of things, just to make sure I'm doing justice to the characters in terms of who they are, their identities, their backgrounds. But I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to kind of fill in some blanks from the character creation session. I still don't really know a whole lot of details above and beyond the sort of vague prompts that I generated for Wyn in that session. So, here we go, frankly. So Kerensky and Cedino are sitting there and playing their game of Stratagema. Now, I do want to, game that out, no pun intended, and maybe see who wins. Could be fun. Based on my quick sort of 2-minute crash course on this game and how it works, I'm thinking that it is probably a reason plus command roll for Wyn, and we'll do it in my usual style here of treating it like a personal combat, i.e. the first person to get to 3 hits, inflicts 3 hits on their opponent, wins. But I'm going to interject the rolls with some of this kind of vague dialogue, let's just say. Okay. So anyway, Kerensky is looking at Wyn. Well, here, let's do the opening roll first. So, reason plus command, 12 or less. Hot dang. And in fact, no, that would not be a focus generating roll. I rolled a 3 and a 4. My command is a mere 2. Ouch. But that is enough to generate a momentum for Wyn. And it gives Wyn the first advantage. So, of course, Wyn is out to an early lead, and Kerensky looks on with a mixture of bemused pride on her face, this audacious young, junior lieutenant, barely, 3 years out of Starfleet Academy, so brash and daring, reminds Kerensky of herself at that age, and much like herself at that age, she sees Wyn making a lot of sort of knee-jerk decisions that maybe don't help her cause very much at all. And so she says to Wyn, you have to be aware that Captain Galvin is pretty furious with you. And Wyn chuckles to herself. She says, oh, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. And Kerensky says, I don't know about that, kid. I'd start reading up on my JAG protocol if I were you. As another colored brick changes hue to indicate another victorious move by Wyn. So let's roll again. Okay, so another success for Wyn. That's 2-0. So we've learned a little bit about Kerensky here. We've learned that she was once herself a very reckless young ensign, junior lieutenant. But just trying to remind myself what I rolled for her. Charismatic, that's right. But I'm wondering what her... So there's some cool non-player character tables in here. And I'm wondering where the conversation turns. We've got non-player characters' upbringing environment. We've got non-player characters' cultural traits, characters' goals, characters' tactics, their Federation outlook. Let's find out where Kerensky's from. Where did she grow up? On an entertainment colony. So she kind of grew up in Space Vegas, basically. Interesting. So I think Kerensky says, I've told you before, Lieutenant, that I see in you a lot of who I was at your age. But I can't really figure you out. I grew up on Betamax Prime. Didn't you grow up on some, forgive me, backwater colony somewhere out on the fringes of Alpha Quadrant? And Wyn looks a little uncomfortable. And I'm thinking I'm going to challenge her value of seeking to find myself far from home. And I think we'll challenge it in a way, because in a sort of a negative way, right? Because I think maybe she doesn't like to talk about it very much. Let's see here. Let's remind ourselves what we can do when we challenge a value. You can either gain momentum or remove threat. You cannot gain momentum if you already possess momentum. Threat removed in this way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and spend the momentum I have right now to generate an advantage, and then I'll decide whether I want to challenge that value or not. Let's go to the random advantage table. Interestingly enough, I think I can probably, since we're on a space station, I can probably just roll, and it'll, any old thing should do. Let's see here. Oh, although isn't it a special? It's a different kind of thing. Yeah, momentum spells. That's right. I knew there was like a master matrix there. Okay, so I rolled a 9. Friendly aliens. Okay. Friendly alien encounter. Alright. Offer the use of a ship. An unexpected encounter with friendly aliens, either an old ally or new acquaintance, aids with your mission. Okay, I like that. So maybe this is not directly occurring in Vienna's, but rather we cut to the Commodore's office as Wyn's, face is kind of lit up by the Stratagema game. We cut away to the Commodore's office, where he is saying, let's see, I'm trying to think of the timeline here. So we're post Klingon War, but not by much. So things are still kind of settling in as far as the Federation Klingon alliance. So our Commodore, who shall remain nameless, is saying, I have assurances from my counterpart in the Klingon Imperial Navy, again, sorry for my rank ignorance, that they will be sending a ship along to shadow yours and provide any defense or other assistance needed, should the need arise. Alright, so Klingon ship to accompany Kyushu. Okay, so I will challenge Wyn's value of seeking to find myself far from home. So we will cross that out. And so even though she is on the verge of winning this game against Kerensky, I think she stands up and she says, Commander, I think I need a drink. And she hits a button and concedes the game, And so she has generated some momentum for herself, but she's also ended that encounter, that scene, rather. And so I'm going to mark that as a fail, because that was an opportunity for her to open up to her mentor about her backstory. And instead she heads over to the bar where a Vulcan lady who looks unmistakably like a middle-aged Joan Crawford is, standing behind the bar. And she says, what can I get for you, young lady? And, Wyn orders up a spirited mixed drink of some kind. And as our bartender, perhaps the titular Vienna, produces the drink, she says, why did you concede that game? It appeared that you were winning. And Wyn sort of leans back on the bar with two elbows, and if he looks over at Kerensky, who, has gotten up and moved on, unperturbed, she's now sitting with a couple of the other crew and chatting, And she says, sometimes I really feel like I found my home aboard my ship with my fellow crew. And then there are other times where I just feel like I'm still trying to find that home. And Vienna, in the tradition of bartenders across the Star Trek universe, being incredibly wise and always there at the right time to offer some sage advice, says, "Perhaps it is not home you're seeking. Perhaps it is an idea of who you are as a person." And Wyn knocks back the rest of the drink and says, "Perhaps you're right." Sets it down and heads across the lounge towards our chief medical officer, Lieutenant Frakes, who is, let's say he's sitting and having a grand old time, laughing it up, chatting with Jammer and Kreesar. So Wyn approaches and says, "Mind if I join you all?" And of course they indicate, "Yes, of course, have a seat." She sits down, and Frakes says, "Oh yeah, Jammer here was just regaling us with some tales of his days in the academy. Weren't you there? Weren't you there, Sterling?" And Jammer says, "Oh yes, I mean, I got into my share of trouble, no doubt about it, and let's see. I've got too many different ideas competing here. So I think Frakes looks at Wyn and says, "I seem to remember something from your files, Lieutenant. Didn't you get into some kind of accident back at the academy?" And Wyn says, "Yeah, I did. It, and she sort of laughs in spite of herself. This she doesn't mind talking about as much, but she says, yeah, it taught me a thing or two about knowing who to trust and when to put your life in somebody else's hands." And Kreesar, who is sipping some kind of like milky drink, goes, "Do tell." I don't know what Cations sound like. I've never watched the animated series, but I'm assuming it's something maybe not unlike Eartha Kitt playing Catwoman. And so Wyn relates this story of how when she was doing some training on a model warp core as part of an advanced warp engineering course, her lab partner, whose name I shall generate spontaneously as I speak, but her lab partner bungled it, wasn't paying attention, and Wyn paid the price and says, that's a perfect name, Piers Graydon. Ooh, Piers. So yeah, Ensign Graydon. He was he wasn't paying attention. He'd been out all night the night before, and he slipped up, and Wyn says, "I almost paid with my life that day." I just remember waking up in the medical bay, and our old Doc Helsing telling me I was lucky to be there, that Graydon acted swiftly enough to get me stabilized, but she shakes her head and she says, I don't know if I can really forgive him. And I think at that point, Jammer says, well, you may yet have an opportunity. And he's looking at the entrance to the saloon, and Wyn cranes her neck around, and sure enough, there's Piers Graydon sauntering in. And I'm actually going to use my momentum spend on that, because I feel like that's an advantage in a way. It's certainly a fun story element, and I think advantages are meant to be, used to generate fun story elements. So, and this might be an opportunity for Wyn to show a little character growth, to actually, maybe forgive this guy. I just remember that I had already challenged my resistance is never futile value, and now I don't remember if you can only challenge one value per mission, or one value per scene, or one value per act. If it's per scene, then I'm okay. Doesn't really matter. Alright, so let's see. How does Wyn feel about this? I think, let's see here. It's definitely a command, but is it a control or a presence that we're going to roll to see how Wyn feels about this whole thing? Alright, let's see here. Alright. Focuses. Alright, so command, just to make sure. Command covers leadership, negotiation, coordinating, motivating, personal discipline, resisting coercion. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So presence defines characters by their strength of personality, by their ability to draw attention and command respect. Okay. And then control is characters who are precise, orderly, disciplined, highly coordinated, and who possess well-developed fine motor skills. Alright, so let's go with presence, which is good, because that's actually 1 point higher than my control. Command, like I said, is paltry 2, really challenging my command a lot. So I think maybe for the next milestone, I might boost my command. All right, so 12 or less. Whew. All right. One of those was a 19. It's always, so close to generating a threat. But the other one was a 5. So I got 1 success. So, didn't generate any momentum. Didn't generate a threat. Got the 1 success. So our wolf remains calm. Wyn just sort of shrugs and says, oh, interesting. I didn't know he was aboard. And I think Frakes says, now let's see here. Ooh, we can go to the probability matrix on this one. Is Piers Graydon serving on Deep Space 4? Has he been assigned to Deep Space 4? Or is he serving on another starship that happens to be docked here as well? So, I'll give it a 50-50. I don't really feel like there's a compelling argument in either way. Alright, so he is aboard another starship. Interesting. Now, let's also ask the probability matrix. Is Piers Graydon an ensign? Is he a junior lieutenant? Or is he somehow a lieutenant? Alright, so is he an ensign? I will say 50-50 on that one. And that's a no. Is he a junior lieutenant? I would say that's probable. Oh, no. That's a no, so that means he's a full lieutenant. Oh, no. Wyn's rival outranks her. Oh, mercy. Okay. Oh boy. All right. So, oh lordy. Okay. All right. So, yeah. All right. Well, what's Wyn gonna do? What's Piers gonna do? Let's figure that one out. Is Piers... So Piers is gonna see Wyn. Is he gonna come over? I'll say somewhat improbable. Oh, no, he outranks her. So I'm gonna bump that up to 50-50. He is gonna come over. So yeah, so Wyn shrugs and just kind of turns back to face the rest of the, her bridge crew, compatriots, and sort of tries to just act casual and get back to, Lieutenant Commander, you were saying about your time in the academy, but she can see their eyes are all sort of flicking over, like over her shoulder, and she can sense someone's coming, and she hears him say, Cedino, is that you? I thought I recognized you. And so she turns around in her chair, stands up, gives him a ingratiating fake smile, says, Lieutenant Grayson, I had no idea you were here. Graydon, not Grayson. And he says, oh, well, our ship just docked about an hour ago. I heard Kyushu was here, so I thought maybe our paths would cross. I'm so glad they did. Can I offer you a drink? And Wyn says, oh, no, thank you. I'm fine. I was just talking with some of the crew here, and she goes around and introduces everyone, and they're all, like, oh, yes, pleasure to meet you, and they're all kind of like watching, there's a little bit of a tension in the air because they know, Wyn just kind of ran it down, and I think Wyn is kind of sensing that tension, and so she says, she turns to Piers and says, well, we should really catch up sometime. The old blow-off. And so I think that will require another presence plus command roll. And since Wyn is outranked, I'm going to make it difficulty 2 to succeed. Holy Moses. Alright, so not only did I flat out fail, but I generated some threat. Womp womp. Oh boy, it has been ages since we generated any threat, hasn't it? Okay, so let's see here. Let's go to the threat board and remind ourselves. So choose whether to spend it immediately or store it for later. So we can create a complication. Okay. Or we can increase the difficulty. Next action I attempt requires 2 successes. Yada yada. Alright. So... yeah. Okay. I just answered a question I had last session, which was, do you generate momentum on a difficulty 2 roll? And it says here that you do not. Under increased difficulty, page 194. Good to know. I regret nothing. Okay, so I could... I want to hold on to it to continue to increase the difficulty, because I think here Lieutenant Graydon pulls rank, so to speak, and insists. Well, I believe we have a lot of time. Actually, our ship is in for some refits, and I believe your captain is deep in conversation with the Commodore. Do you have any idea what that may be? As he's kind of steering her away from her table, she looks back over her shoulders with a please somebody help me face, and everyone just kind of shrugs. You know, like, you got it. This is one you're gonna have to fight yourself, kid. So let's find out a little bit about Piers Graydon. I'm gonna roll his archetype here. I get a 12. Oh, he's a fellow pilot. Interesting. So he and Wyn both enjoy. They both have a high con roll or con discipline, and they both enjoy piloting. What is his cultural trait? A 17. Purity? Ew. What does that mean? And what are his goals? Gain scientific knowledge. Interesting. So he would no doubt be interested to hear about this city ship. And what are his tactics? How far will the NPC go to accomplish their goals? How will the character try to accomplish their goals? Extortion. Interesting. So this is more like, this is a specific thing. Like he's trying to gain a specific type of scientific knowledge, and he's willing to use extortion to do so. Interesting. I'm not sure if that will have a direct impact on this particular scene, but yeah, we'll just have to see. So So yeah, so I think he's gonna try and actually let's use it. Let's do that. So he he sits Wyn down in a booth, a little 2-person booth, and says I heard that it's has to do with some kind of alien vessel. Cedino, I've always been a little envious of your posting on Kyushu. It's got such a high-tech sensor array and some of the most advanced data-gathering apparatus. The things you find out on that ship, I'm sure, are worth more than their weight in gold. And of course, Wyn doesn't know anything about the mission briefing that Galvin is getting at the moment, but this is not long after their ship just returned from a journey through a heretofore unknown part of space-time, encountering a heretofore unknown alien species of major what-the-fuck proportions. And I'm sure Wyn is quite tempted to try and get one up on her rival by bragging a bit about all of this. So we're going to do a control plus command roll. This is one of Wyn's worst possible rolls. This is an 11 or less. I'm going to spend that threat and make this a difficulty 2. And no, I only got 1 success, so it's as good as a failure. And so Wyn ends up spilling the beans about her encounter, the Kyushu's encounter with the Borg and the transwarp corridor and the whole 9 yards. And so that is another fail. We've had 3 failed scenes in a row, folks. That is not good. Where do we go from here? Okay. Lieutenant Frakes. He's a good guy. He's charming. That's his trait, is he's charming. And I think he eventually takes pity on Wyn. He doesn't know that she's, telling Graydon all this stuff. Not that it's like top secret, but it's not really her place to share this information. This is the kind of stuff that captains or first officers generally would, be talking about, but she's sort of spilling the beans. But I think Frakes, just more. It's more like he would be inclined to take pity. So let's find out. Does Frakes take pity on Wyn? We'll call it probable, and that is a yes. So after 15 minutes or so, he sort of saunters over, throws his leg over the back of a chair, sits down, the chair facing backwards, and he says, well, you two kids are certainly talking up a storm over here, and they both sort of clam up, and Frakes says, say, Wyn, why don't we head on over to the medical bay? I'm I'm using this opportunity to just run some routine checkups on the crew after our last venture. And he kind of gives her a little wink, and she nods. Oh, right, yeah, you mentioned that earlier. And so she, perhaps suddenly realizing the breadth of information she just spontaneously spewed forth for an eager Graydon to absorb, she excuses herself, and let's see, what is Frakes is a lieutenant as well. Oh, okay, so he and Graydon equal ranks. Interesting. But they, salutes all around, etc., and so soon Frakes and Harrison and Wyn are walking down one of the corridors in Deep Space 4, and he says, seemed like you were just kind of babbling away there, so it didn't seem like you were very comfortable around him. Not that I blame you at all. And Wyn says, yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I don't really know how I feel about what happened and where I stand with him now. And I think that brings up an interesting question in terms of their backstory. Were Wyn and Piers romantically involved? We're going to call it 50-50. And the answer is yes. Of course. Nothing quite ruins a relationship like accidentally detonating a model warp core right under your girlfriend and nearly killing her. And so Frakes chuckles in his charming sort of way, and he says, I suspected something like that. And Wyn says, like what? He says, come on, it's obvious. You two are an item. She says, well, yeah, but that was a long time ago. And since then, I've sort of devoted myself to Starfleet. And Frakes says, well, that's a real loss for a lot of folks, I'm sure. So there's some flirting going on right here, which is exactly what we wanted. And so I'm going to give Wyn a roll of daring plus command. I mean, I really feel like command is sort of the interpersonal discipline, because con is for your sort of piloting roles, security is for kicking ass and taking names, engineering obviously is for engineering, science is for your sort of science-y deductive problems, medicine is to do medicine. So command is like, yeah, that's kind of your personality discipline there. So I'll definitely be boosting that in my next milestone. But we'll do daring plus command. Now, Wyn does have a focus of empathy. So if I roll a 2 or less on one of these dice, instead I generated a threat, so there's that. But I did also succeed. So I love this, actually. This is such a classic beat, because like Wyn kind of gives Frakes a little smile, a little coy smile, like, are you flirting with me? And then we're going to roll on the threat matrix. Red alert, red alert. Starbase is under attack. No, we'll find out here. Hopefully it won't be quite that dramatic. We've got to move the story on. We haven't even gotten to the core mission yet. The ship's been all shot to shit in a harrowing vision of its future fate, and and then we've had some character building moments, which I have to say has been very satisfying, even with the awkward talking to myself dialogue stuff. But let's see what this threat is. 8. Psionic incident. Not psionics again. Oh, man. Mind swap. Trapped in a dream. Many of the most challenging complications occur within the mindscape. Roll the table below to determine what kind of psionic obstacles arise during your mission. What the hell, psionics? Flashbacks. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Oh, I love that. That's perfect. Okay. So I think one of the reasons why Wyn has studiously avoided any romantic entanglements in the 3 years since her accident has been because she created this sort of somatic association between, romantic feelings and that incident. She had characterized Graydon as having been up all night the night before. Well, maybe she was too. Maybe they weren't even in a relationship. Maybe they had kind of a lot of romantic tension throughout their time in the academy, and the night before the accident had been the night that they'd finally, declared their feelings for each other, perhaps consummated their relationship, at least taken it to some new, exciting level. They'd been out all night, and then it's like, oh, right, we've got our warp engineering finals, and then, and there was just kind of like, especially, for a younger person, a lot of times you get that kind of causality kind of mindset. It's like, well, I did this, and so this happened, and so if I do A, B will happen again, So I think Wyn is starting to feel some feelings for Lieutenant Harrison Frakes, and suddenly she's overwhelmed by what's essentially an anxiety attack or a panic attack. She kind of smiles up at him, and then suddenly she kind of has to stop. She braces herself against the wall. She begins to sweat, and Lieutenant Frakes leans in and he says, Wyn, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'll be okay. I'm all right. And he's like, no, you're not okay. I'm getting you to sickbay right now, and he kind of puts her arm around his shoulder and just kind of helps her walk along as she's like getting increasingly panic-stricken, and he's kind of talking her through it, and he says, just try to breathe, try to take some deep breaths, and then eventually she just like kind of slips down against the wall, and he has to just stop. He gets on his communicator. He says, can I get a medical team from sickbay to level 2C? I have a sick patient here. And then he gets out his little tricorder and he starts taking some basic readings, and he's still like kind of just doing some psychological triage, like, all right, Wyn, stay with me, come on now, and let's give her a control plus command, or let's do presence plus command. No, control was self-discipline, right? So we'll do control plus command. Again, one of her worst rolls. Or should it be insight plus command, which is actually an even worse roll, because I love to punish myself. But yeah, I mean, maybe she just needs to have some insight here. She needs to kind of, understand what's going on so that she can maybe try and collect herself a little bit here. Insight defines characters by their instincts and their perceptiveness. Insightful characters often have a good sense of the moods and feelings of others, but have also learned to trust their own feelings when it comes to the decisions they make and the problems they are confronted with. Yes, let's do insight plus command. That is Wyn's absolute worst roll, a 10 or less. Come on, baby. Nope, that is a fail. Wow. So I think, despite Frakes' best efforts, Wyn's vision begins to kind of narrow into a dark tunnel, and his voice is very far away, and then she's just only vaguely aware of everything that's going on around her until, she's being transported on a gurney to sick bay, and that is our fourth failed scene. So I need to start succeeding on some freaking rolls here, because I really want to earn a milestone this time around. I feel like I didn't give myself a milestone last time, incidentally. I know I definitely did one after the first mission. I'll have to go back and review. I don't think I did give myself, because just as a refresher, I decided if you get more successes than fails, then that's a milestone, and you can do something with that. So what I might do, I like all my focuses at the moment. Maybe I'll boost one of my attributes or disciplines that I haven't really used so far this adventure. And why don't we just do that? I'm 90% sure I didn't do a milestone last time. So I'll just boost my fitness. I haven't used that. So that's now a 10. Okay. Anyway, I really want to get a milestone now, though, so I can raise my command. Gotta get that up to 3. Anyways. Okay, so, of course, with just, less than an hour in sick bay, and really probably didn't even need more than 15 minutes, but, after about an hour in sick bay, Wyn is discharged, feeling a bit chagrined, but, is able to quickly leave that behind as the crew is recalled to the bridge on Kyushu, so that they can find out these new orders they've been given. And so I think we'll just cut to scene 5. We are flying away from Deep Space 4, and we're going to be coming up on the alien ship. Wyn is back at the navigator's helm, and operating the sensors, I think, the sensor array. And that will be with Kyushu approaching this strange city ship. And I think that means it's about time to start generating the details of this thing. So let's kick it off first, though, with a scan. Once again, we'll leave it up to Wyn. And let's see here. How about, let's see, reason plus science, I think, would be appropriate. Oh, no, actually, again, we're doing the ships. See, I feel like a lot of the times the ship kind of takes precedence, doesn't it? So we have the sensor. Yeah, we have the sensor attribute for the ship. But we have the high resolution sensors. Right. Good. So 14 or less. If I roll a 4 or less on either die, that will trigger a talent focus. And so close. So close. I rolled a 5. But I did roll 2 successes, so that does generate a momentum. And I'll have to think about. I think I'll probably cash that in for an advantage, but this will probably just be a roll to see what kind of advantage it is. So, yeah, let's go to the advantage table. Let's see here. So that is 7. Helpful species, contemporaries. Species arrives with capabilities similar to your own and offers insight or technical assistance into the situation. Well, that is really cool because that gives me an immediate idea of who exactly is on board this this city ship. But that does mean I'm going to have to generate the details of who's on this ship. All right, let's roll up some details on this city ship. Who are the life forms aboard the ship? What is their society like? So forth, you know. What should we do first? So what we know is that they are equals to the Federation. So we don't need to worry about their technological development level. They're at space level for that, which according to the guidelines here under designing a civilization means there's several billion of them. I think that's probably a little high for a city ship, but we could definitely say there's tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions. Okay. Governance. Strange. Oh. I wonder if I'm supposed to roll for each one. Oh, I think that's it. Okay, so technological development level is space. That's automatic. Okay, so let's roll for planetary population next. Okay, that's fine. Millions. All right, so we've got the city ship. Oh, let me write this on the correct sheet of paper here. Okay. All right, so we got the city ship, and it's got millions of people on it. Okay. Its governance 10. Transitional, theocracy, monarchy, or dictatorship. Okay. That's very, very kind of TOS, I feel like. So we'll just say, theocracy, monarchy, dictatorship. Okay. Planet modifiers, we don't worry about that, so yeah. Okay. All right. So, types of governments. Now that you've created a world and an interesting civilization, use the following information to add more detail about their type of government your character may encounter. Any attempt to make a document that summarizes differing forms of government, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, yeah, let's just see here. There's some odd things on here. Yeah, see, I just rolled this and I got anarchy, and yet we also had theocracy, monarchy, or dictatorship. A dictatorship of the proletariat, comrade? No. However, if we have an anarchy situation with a titular, like a figurehead, either a monarch or a pontiff or something, that might be interesting. Okay. Groupings of polities. When multiple polities come together to form a larger whole, there are a few overall types of governance. Well, I don't think we really have to worry about that. Types of religion. All right. Polytheism. Cool. Each world encountered has its own unique philosophies, religions based on millennia of social adaptation. Here we only have space to broadly categorize some. Okie. And then types of societies. Well, this one I don't think I'm going to roll on because warp capable is one of the outcomes, and it goes all the way down to like pastoral or horticultural, agricultural, industrial, post-industrial. No. We know they're warp capable. It's fine. So I'll just make a note of that. Warp capable. What do they have to offer? Yes. Now, this was the thing, right? They're a friendly civilization. Let's see, just to review. Helpful species, contemporaries, and then there was helpful species advanced, as if I had rolled an 8. So it is similar. It says a species with capabilities similar to your own offers insight or technical assistance into the situation. Okay. And that, of course, is going to be the big question I have for Act 2, which is specifically, the incident was research and transform. I got to roll twice, research and transform. So the question I have for Act 2 is, who's researching whom? Who is transforming whom? Is it a two-way street? Is Federation trying to do one thing and these guys trying to do the other? Is it all on one side or the other? So that's a question I have, but let's see what they have to offer. A 12. Flora or fauna? Okay. Okay, that's interesting. It could be something like an extinct species. A species that used to live on Earth that's now extinct. It could be, of course, I think the first thing that leapt to mind actually for me was, especially on the flora side of things, that maybe it is a particular, heretofore unknown alien plant species that can be synthesized and utilized for maybe some kind of, new cure. I mean, I know Star Trek medicine is pretty advanced as it is, but there are still diseases and other maladies that are at best challenging to Star Trek level medicine, and at worst maybe even baffling to Star Trek level medicine. So maybe if there's some kind of alien plant that can be synthesized to treat, I don't know, Grafman syndrome or whatever, that's certainly something worth considering. Okay, so let's figure out a few other things then. Just want to know a few things about these life forms. Alright, so first we're going to roll up their origins. Carbon-based. Thank God. I was worried we were going to get more floating jellyfish. Although I still have to roll for their symmetry. So we'll see. The tables are heavily weighted towards carbon-based and bilateral. Just FYI. And we barely got bilateral. You need a 10 or less, roll a 10. Very good. Alright. But it's still weird because there's a carbon-based life table. So there's only a 20% chance these are animals. So let's see what we get. Oh, there we go. 17. Protists. Carbon-based protists. Sure. As you do. Let's see here. I mean, I guess protists are technically carbon-based. Yeah. Protists, here's your science lesson for the day, kids. Protists are simple eukaryotic organisms that are neither plants nor animals or fungi. Protists are unicellular in nature, but can also be found as a colony of cells. Most protists live in water, deep terrestrial environments, or even as parasites. Okay, some examples would be amoebas, parameciums, and other things that only science nerds like Rainey have heard of. Okay. Hi, Rainey. So, let's see. Protists have nuclear membranes around their DNA. They have other membrane-bound organelles. Many protists live in aquatic habitats. Most are motile. Protists have complex life cycles that may include both sexual and asexual reproduction. Okay. So, like, sentient amoebas, I guess. Bilateral. They are bilateral. Interesting. I mean, that's gross. it's freaking me out a little bit. I'll be okay. I'll be fine. Yeah. But no, I want to think about this a little bit. Yeah. Interesting. And I'm kind of Googling sci-fi sentient amoebas. What was the first sci-fi work that had an intelligent virus or bacterium? There have been, what does it say? There have been a number of comic book characters, e.g. Sublime, Hlavik, Despotellis, television versions, e.g. the Black Oil from X-Files, the Sentient Virus, and Farscape. There was one in Doctor Who, annual story from 1971. What was the earliest? Last and First Men by the mighty Olaf Stapledon, published in 1930, has Martians described as a virus-like dissociated group mind. Interesting. 1931, The Beautiful Bacillus by Patrick Dutton, has a bacterium that transforms into an intelligent communicating life form with a sense of humor. Okay, yeah. How fascinating, how bizarre. So, I mean, it said they have, what they have to offer is flora and fauna. I mean, they're kind of both, Yeah. Let me give that some thought. And I think this is a great opportunity, again, to kind of throw it out there to the general public. Much to my chagrin, it's pretty obvious here that I am going to have to pause and give this some thought. But we set this up for Act 2, so that's fine. And yeah, I think I'll give some thought as to like who these amoeboids are, why they're heading towards Earth, and they are friendly. We have to remember that too. So yeah, like what is the crew of the Kyushu gonna do in terms of interacting with these guys? I do kind of like the idea that maybe this civilization. So it's a city ship in the sense that it's like a colony of sentient protists, right? What is it? Is it the slime mold that I'm thinking of that can like go through these different life cycle stages depending on the environment? And so like it's like a colony of mold that can come together and like form like into a slug-like creature basically. It's pretty disgusting. Life in all its amazing varieties. But yeah, something like that. I'm thinking now, like the vision I'm getting for this thing is like, yeah, it's just this like giant colony of like sentient amoebas, and maybe they can either come together to create a sort of humanoid form in order to communicate more effectively. Something along those lines. It's actually a fascinating bookend to the Borg, right? Very similar kind of like communal hive mind kind of vibe here, but in this case they're friendly. So that might set up some conflict, especially for the crew of the Kyushu, who is still more than a little bit shaken by what they witnessed at Omega 10, and also their chilling vision of the doom that lays upon their ship. So I think that gives us a lot to work with, but I do have to just kind of sit with this and think about it a little bit more. And again, as always, hop on our Discord or leave a comment to this post on Podbean. And if you have any thoughts or recommendations, any like stories or episodes of the show that I might want to check out, sources of inspiration, I will mercilessly rip off anything. Originality is overrated, as I've said before, and I will happily bring in elements from other sci-fi franchises. I don't care. All right, so I think that just leaves our we'll do a act break, a second act supplemental. No, I'll save that for next time. I'll save the second act supplemental for next time. So until next time, folks, we are jumping to warp speed. No, I still need to come up with a clever sign off. Bye bye.